Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, YouTubers from all over the world. The HMS Bounty got the main mast rough end work all done. Now it's time to start on the yard arms for the main mast. They're all blocking tackles and stiffeners, braces. Ready to go on the ship. So similar to when we installed the rear mast, we're gonna have to shape this so the fits into that block down underneath there. And through that second floor deck, we got to shape that opening a little bit. But down inside is the only work left to put this to install. Yep, where it goes through the floor there is a little tight. I'm going to have to open that up. And that's sort of a rectangle opening in that main block to hold the base of the mast. We'll have to shape that on the end of the mast. But all the work on the main mast is done. So this morning I'm going to be clearing off the tools and all here, scooting this forward because all the yard arms are there underneath the tools. So we'll start getting ready to cut and shape these pieces for the yard arms. So what we've done is pre-marked the yard to the proper length, and we picked out of the stock that comes in the box for the ship the proper diameter. This one is 6 millimeters, this one's 5 millimeters, and this one's 3 millimeters. So we'll take all these pieces and go over to the saw and cut them. This one's for the middle, the top mast. That one's for the second one up, and that's the main yard. And then these little ones, as you can see, there's a small, they call it a boom, that gets mounted to the yard with some brass strips and a brass eye thing that we got to make on the end here. So take all these and cut them what we want. This piece was just long enough to get 4 booms out of it. Now one of these is scrap. Well, it might be used on the foremast, but we'll determine which one is which. So we know the big one is that. And the 2 longer booms go on that. This must be the scrap. That one is that. These are the 2 longer booms, or shorter booms. Go in there. And then this one is the top. So these are tapered on the end. And I'll show you the trick on that, which is pretty cool. Come over here, grab my drill, this is a lot easier to do this way than it is to try to do it by hand. So the taper is going to be from here up toward the end. Now I'm just watching the very tip. See if it's getting smaller. Now let's check that. Make sure it's the top drawing there is pretty close to not hiding any of the pieces. And it doesn't taper a whole lot, but it does taper from the main thickness, so we're good on that one. And that's how we do the tapering. Once we get the tapering done, then we'll start on putting these stiffeners on there and gluing them up. So we'll mark this ahead of time where the stiffeners start and stop at, and then we'll cut a whole bunch of them ahead of time and glue them on there, and then strap it with a rubber band or something until it dries. And that's all the stiffeners. Once we get them done, then we're on to more detail work, like these brass straps to hold the booms on there. Those are always fun. Alright, this is one of my little tricks. Can't never have enough tricks. I'm doing a granny knot a little further away than normal. Fumble fingers here. So I want to have enough slack here that I can do some cinching without doing cinching. That's the trick. So I've pre-dropped my block. That where the knot is opposite of where the pin is at in the hole. Pull that snug, tight, and then do another one. Now these are going to be for the, this is one of the yard arms from the rear mast. We got an MZ on there for mizzen mast. So anyway, what we're doing is we're prepping this long tail here with the cinching done on the end where the block is. And we need that on both sides of the yard arm. So I've already made up one set, the cinching, and I'll just cut this in the middle and tie it on at the right length, because there's a length that is on the plan there. So I'm making these a little longer, so I got slack over here to tie it on the end of the yard arm. Get that knot at the right length. So what I'm doing here is locking that lightly in the vise. Now I'm putting a counterweight on the end of the long part that's going to tie off. That holds that straight. And I found that if I go from the back to the front instead of from the top down to the back, I go from the top down to the back, I get a better way to grab it and keep it snug while I do this simulated cinching. and maybe go around 10 times or so, and then I can put another counterweight on it, pull that cinch up with the tweezers, get it looking good, and then nail it with the glue. I'm keeping pressure on this other end, so I was adjusting that pressure. I don't want any slack in this line. Knowing that I'm going to get enough glue on there that the end of that is not going to come loose after we cut. And cut it right here when the glue dries. So once this one gets cut and moved out of the vise, we got 3 more to go for all 3 yard arms. We can cock and load our next deadeye. Ready to go for so there's the next one, cinched up, ready to go on the yard arm. So that's an easy way to make it simulate look like a cinch. In some places we'll use a different color thread or a finer thread just to make it really contrast, but for these yard arms I'm not going to go to all that trouble. There's a point where you got to make progress instead of making too much detail. Okay, so now you can see there a little prefab piece of pewter they provided in the kit that gets installed. And this set here is smaller than this set over here, so I use the same procedure with the drill and the grinder to grind down all 3 pieces had to be ground down to accept these little pieces of pewter. And now we have to fashion some pieces of brass wire to hold the other end. And in the process of using the drill and the grinder, I broke one, putting a little bit too much stress on this end while I had it in the drill, and it broke, so I had to start over and make a new one. Casualty of war. So that was probably one of the harder parts of getting these ready for all the dead eyes, or not dead eyes, but the blocks and pulleys. We got to drill some holes in the ends. That's a 1mm hole in the ends. This one's got some on each end of it. And we got the wood strips on there. So the yard arms are underway for the main mast. Time to get a little more detail work in. Thanks for watching.